build up. With the airport, we know it's going to be multiple jobs, not just a few, but it's going to be multiple jobs. All those industries that are needed to support that airport will begin to pop up, from hotels and everything else that's going to surround it. So we have options, but we have to think, things that I will do as the mayor. They may not be seen over the next 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, but maybe 10 years down the road, you will see what takes place. Once again, Dr. Tim Westley.
So, this one is like, I think it might be a softball, but I didn't plan it that way. What one thing in your professional background can you use to help develop small businesses to get access to a large market in San Antonio?
Well, so I've been a small business owner for over 25 years. As Secretary of State, my job was to go around the world and promote Texas, bring business here. Whenever we focus on small business, we're talking about the largest employer in our city. We have to be supportive. Clayton, I traveled with Governor Perry to California. We brought those companies here, and the one thing they look at is when companies are coming here, they want to know what our small business base is, because they want to know that they have the industry to support their operations. When we're talking about small business, we're talking about entrepreneurs, small business owners who risk it all to make their lives better. And when government gets in the way, that's when we come into trouble. You know, Governor Perry, whenever I was a regulator, used to tell us, get the hell out of the way, let the businesses flourish. And what's happening here in the city is quite the opposite. They are frustrating. City Hall is frustrating our small businesses by getting in the way. On top of that, they're not helping them with access to capital, as was mentioned earlier. You know, whenever we focus on a particular industry, we have to make sure that it also complements the rest of the industries around here. We have developed tremendous expertise in cybersecurity and tourism and all those things, but if we don't have the small businesses like bars and restaurants like this to support all of that, then we're not going to get anywhere. In my experience as an economic developer, I've seen it all. I've seen where companies will look at our city, and if we don't have that base of small businesses to support their operations, they're going to go somewhere else. We're having to compete with Austin, Dallas, and Austin with, you know, as we attract those businesses. All of their small businesses are flourishing. Here, we see every day, I mean, you've seen it in the paper, restaurants shutting down, small businesses shutting down, businesses going elsewhere. So we have to be very supportive of them. I've run a small business, I've promoted small business development, and I want to make sure that we do that at City Hall. My name is Rolando Pablos. Thank you.
It's a long one. I'm actually proud of you that I'm reading. What NGO that is dealing with, Tim, this is your question. What NGO that is dealing with in transferring and housing illegals, as mayor, are you going to audit first? Or will you insist on a feasibility study for the new sports entertainment center planned downtown? Do you think basic immediate services such as ERs, flood control, fixing roads might be a better use of our funds?
So, not a problem at all. So, you know, these questions, I choosing one from that group. Okay, well, right off, that one about the NGO. And so when we think about San Antonio, and we think about that illegal hub on San Pedro, one of the first things I want to do is make sure it's shut down. Shut it down. NGO, when we think about Catholic charities, as much good work as they may do, this work that they're doing and working with these illegals, we have to make sure that we begin to audit them. I want to know what's taking place with the money. What's taking place with it? No taxpayers. No taxpayers, hard-working taxpayers of San Antonio. We have enough struggles as it is. We have problems with our roads, problems with the infrastructure, problems with our safety, etc. Yet still, we see millions being spent on illegal immigration. Last time I checked, Article 4, Section 4 of the U.S. Constitution said that we're supposed to defend this land. We're supposed to protect it, and that's not happening. No homeowner should be afraid or concerned whether I can go outside safely or not when it comes down to legal immigration. And so, what NGO? I look definitely at Catholic Charities, and I look definitely at shutting down that thing that's taking place on San Pedro and taking San Antonio back. San Antonio first, San Antonio forever. Dr. Tim Westley from Mayoral.
Thank you for that answer.
Let's vote now.
Okay, all right. This one's for you. Right. Eric Walsh, the San Antonio city manager, salary is set at $461,000. Recently raised by our city council. I might add as they raise their own. A 23% raise according to the Express News. Are you willing to do an audit of his and other city leaders' salaries? The U.S. president makes $400,000 with $50,000 in expenses, and the salary for a senator is $174,000.
That's a great question. I'm a small business owner. I've acquired businesses, I've sold businesses since 2010. Anytime I take over an organization, the very first thing that I have to do is conduct an audit. I need to know where all of my assets are. I need to know where all of the existing liabilities lie. And then I need to understand how our current budget is supporting those activities. What we saw this last budgetary cycle was that they went over their $3.5 billion budget. And then here recently, it was a $4 billion budget that was passed. Now, as a small business owner, there's one thing that I can't do. I can never go over my budget because there's nothing there to go over. So my budget has to keep me in line with what the goals are of the project. So for me, yeah, I want to audit the entire function of our city government, understanding where our asset class are, what are the existing liabilities, and what, more importantly, what is the return on investment on all of these projects that we see that are taking place that involve City of San Antonio funds. Then and only then can we make decisions as to what is fully pushing our city forward. When we think of Eric and the fine work that is done, I've worked with Eric, I like Eric, I think he does a great job. But when there is a budget set in place that you are incapable of maintaining, everything should be audited because we need to understand why. I'm Robert Melvin and I'm running for mayor.
Andrew, I'm gonna need your help, okay? Evidently, I missed 2 pieces of paper on the printer. So I'm gonna ask you to read the question and then answer the question. That's what I'm saying, you're gonna read it out loud.
Andrew Vicenzio for mayor. So here we go. Just like quarterback on. Here we go. As we have seen nationwide in recent elections, fraud is a real problem. How will you work with the Bexar County administration to ensure our voting process is secure? Do you think our voter turnout is low and result in lack of trust? Well, the first part would be that the Bexar County administrator, I think, should be elected. It shouldn't be just fall into the hands of 5 people. So, second, be more mindful as far as mailing out mail-in ballots and so forth. Make sure that the voter rolls are locked tight even more. Of course, voter ID check, that's necessary, absolutely. But why is voter turnout low? Well, if we move the city elections to November, it probably wouldn't be as low. So it's kind of like a conspiracy. Let's do it during Fiesta and so forth. Let's have an election then. So, but to caveat off of, just real quick here off of Tim's question, as far as 7,000 San Pedro goes, I'm in lockstep with him. That's the faucet needs to be cut on that because it creates a vicious cycle. What happens is the city pays for it, they get reimbursed by the government, and guess where that money is coming from? It's coming from you and me. And from last year, comparison to 2 years ago, I paid $329 in taxes. Just this past year alone, I paid $235.86. I know where the money is going.
That needs to be audited.
Andrew Vicenzio for mayor.
Thank you, Andrew. Clayton, I'm sorry. I might be able to, no, I can't. I I can't read it.
You want
And so
me to read it?
can you read it, or do I need to go back up?
I'll read it. How will you enforce 287G giving Tom Homan opportunity to engage Sheriff Salazar to deport illegals that have been draining city resources and taxpayer dollars? Let me tell you, the very first thing is closing that migrant resource center down. Did you know that our police officers cannot ask a question of somebody that's just broken a law and gets thrown in jail if they're a U.S. citizen or not? They don't have the right to do that. I will demand that, number one. They're not asked in our hospitals. They're not asked in our schools. I'm going to open the door wide open for Tom Homan. I tell you what, Sheriff Salazar better be on the lookout, because that's going to happen in the city jails. You know, we've got a municipal court down there, and it's always jam-packed with people. And I'm going to open those doors to ICE and say, here they are, coming, and we're going to actually have a list that shows who produced, you know, any kind of ID and who's suspect of not being a citizen here. So that is one little part that this city can do. Now, this city can put a lot of pressure on the county. Our county, they're responsible for their own budget and their own constituents out there, but dadgummit, San Antonio is the biggest part of Bexar County. And we should hold them accountable as city elected officials to do what they're supposed to be doing, i.e., making that jail bigger if it needs to be bigger, or contracting out to other counties if we're short of space here. Let me tell you, we're letting criminals go downtown that have felonies, and they're running around. So I'm going to shut that door, or I'm going to open the door to Tom Homan to come in here. I was lucky enough to hear him speak at an event, and now let me tell you, I'm going to use his words. He is pissed, and he's going to do the job that he was nominated for, and he's going to do a great job. And San Antonio is going to open their doors to Tom Homan and his crew. Let me tell you. Yes, Clayton Perry for mayor.
Okay, so now what we're gonna do is you guys get the mic and you wrap it up on your own.
Last question.
Last question. One more.
Do we have
One
to
more
do this?
more.
Who did I miss?
Rolando.
We didn't hear from Rolando.
So sorry, Rolando. You get to read the question out loud. Can you see it? Oh yeah. Oh, I like this question.
I can read it.
Thank you everybody for seeing the question.
No, I think I've got it. Often local homeowners are at the mercy of out-of-state developers. How will you protect our taxpayers from rampant Section 8 housing and the problems it brings? Well, this is very important. You know, we've seen a ton of trouble going on in City Hall right now. We've seen the situation where a lot of the Section 8 is coming here. As a matter of fact, I rented an apartment here on Heber Road, and I didn't realize that it was Section 8. And let me tell you, we had break-ins, we had tremendous trouble there, and the people who live in there don't deserve that. You know, we pay full market rent, and so we have to be able to understand that you can't force this issue on them. Now, with respect to developers, I'll tell you, the best way to get developers engaged is to remove the disincentives for developing. And what I'm hearing from all of these developers is that, particularly the local developers, is that they don't have that opportunity. But when you have out-of-town developers coming in here, taking advantage of their tax credits and whatever else that they do at our expense, having these developments in our neighborhoods, and then forcing the issue on us, I don't think that's fair. And so I don't believe in that, and I want to make sure that that doesn't happen. We saw it happen right now with Mark White, you know, and I think that that was a good thing that happened there. So that's my answer. Rolando Pablos.
So I have to say thank you for calling me out on missing a question. And I came to this side so that we could have you go down the road. But now we're not giving you 1 minute, we're not giving you 2 minutes. We're giving you 3 minutes to hear what you really have to say.
Fantastic. Well, look, here's the thing. Right now we have a situation at City Hall that is deplorable. You know, we have a situation with crime that is out of control. and we're not doing anything about it. And we talked about Eric. Eric does a good job, but at the end of the day, the numbers don't lie. You know, we keep hearing that crime's going down, and what I'm seeing is completely different. We see our streets broken. We see traffic out of control. Today was crazy. I don't know if y'all noticed that, but traffic was out of control. I don't know what happened today, but man, let me tell you, you know, we have to get people to work on time. We have to make sure that our transit system is rapid in the way where we can get people from one place to the other. The other thing that I'm seeing right now, and I think it's the biggest problem that we have, is that our city leaders can't get along with our state leaders, can't get along with our county leaders. When our mayor goes out and pokes Governor Abbott in the eyes and goes and rallies for Kamala and calls President Trump a clown and all those things, listen, our mayor is supposed to be nonpartisan. There's an expectation of neutrality. And what's happening here today is that we don't have a good relationship with our county government. We don't have a good relationship with our state leadership. You know, and for me, looking at the 3 mayors of Dallas, Houston, and Austin, they've all worked at the Capitol. They all have relationships. Guess what's going to happen next month? When those cities go to Austin to try to take state funds back home, they're going to kick our butts. They're going to beat us because our mayor can't even get a meeting in Austin. So we need a mayor that has the relationships in Austin and now in Washington, D.C. So if we're able to have someone who has friends up there who will take their phone calls, and let me tell you, I look forward to being able to call Governor Abbott and Governor Patrick and asking them to help us here instead of poking him in the eyes. When you kick Bruce Bugg in the shins because of a silly project on Broadway, when the man is bringing us billions of dollars on tech stop money, all this construction you see here is Bruce Bugg, you know, the chairman of Tech Stop. How do we expect as a city to compete with the other cities if our mayor doesn't have those relationships? And I'll tell you, I don't know about the rest of the gentlemen here, but I bring those relationships not only in Austin, but also in Washington. I know that the White House will take my phone calls. I know that our senators will take my phone calls. And all we need is to be able to get in there, make our case, and also bring those funds here. Somebody was joking about getting grants. Those grants are out there. What happens is other cities are beating us to them because they have the relationships. We're human beings. It's all about relationships. And so when we see City Hall not having those relationships, that's when I get disgusted, and that's what I plan to do, is bring those relationships so we can bring a lot of that home that we're missing out on. Thank you very much. Rolando Pablos.
Once again, Dr. Tim Westley. Not an insider, but I am a realist. And the reality is, San Antonio has to do better when it comes down to being pro-business. As we think about what has taken place again with Southwest Airlines, sends the wrong message. As we think back to Chick-fil-A in the airport, sends the wrong message. As we think back to many occasions, including the Republican National Convention being turned away, that could have brought hundreds of millions of dollars into our city, that's the wrong answer. It's time for the right answer. It's time for someone with common sense policy making, being able to talk with city council and saying, we have these on our shoulders, we must use them. It's time. It's time for Dr. Tim Westley. As we think about the city of San Antonio, we have one candidate now that's just popped up that was planning to close down military bases in San Antonio. Think about that for just a moment. San Antonio, Texas, the home of Joint Base San Antonio. Over 80,000 people employed. $30 billion worth of economic impact every year. Imagine if we send the message that military city, USA, wants to shut down bases. We should be going the opposite direction, taking advantage of that brand that we are. You'll have a brand maker in me as a veteran that's going to say, I want to build on that 80,000 jobs. I want to build on that $30 billion economy. I want to make sure that I'm speaking with our congressmen, making sure that I'm speaking with our state representatives and anyone else that's willing to listen so that we can expand our military footprint, not shrink it. because that's the part of who we are. I want to be the brand ambassador that I go out and I find those jobs, find those employers that's willing to come to San Antonio. People say, think outside the box. Well, I've never been in it. I've never been in it. And because of that, you're going to get someone who's authentically going to be able to say, I'm not just talking, I'll do it. I'll give you one example. When I was running for U.S. Congress a few years back, I saw a problem as I toured the border with Border Patrol agents on a private tour, my wife and I. On that private tour, they told us they were changing diapers and doing all these things. I have 30 seconds, but I'll wrap it up. I did something about it. I made sure that I wrote the blueprint to legislation. That blueprint to legislation went to my congressman. That legislation turned into jobs for all the Border Patrol spouses so that they can have GS jobs, so as their husbands or their spouses move, they move with them and those jobs went with them. That's not what I talked about, that's what I did. And that's what we're going to do in San Antonio. Make a change. Dr. Tim Westley for me. God bless.
Okay, we have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Again, Andrew Vicenzio for mayor. As a 22-year combat veteran, I believe in tradition and values and so forth. And I was the only mayoral candidate to support the horse carriage industry at City Hall. So when you think of San Antonio, what do you think of? You think of the Alamo and then the horse carriage. Can you imagine an EV horse carriage? That's like turning a Dodge Challenger into an EV. You won't hear the roar of the engine and so forth. It's crazy. You can say pro-business all you want, but without public safety, you won't have a steady and longevity as far as a foundation growing small business in this city. I have a friend of mine, Pete Vega. He's a 25-year veteran of the San Antonio Police Force. He was trying to get to 27 and a half years, but after 200 arrests, 100 fights, and almost getting killed twice, he said, Andrew, I've had it. And we've got very limited amount of officers. Half of the force is getting ready to retire now. They can pull the trigger at 20 years and at 25 years. It's very alarming because the population growth is outpacing the growth of the police department. And if I win by some miracle mayor, the position of mayor, you need a CCR, City Council resolution. You need 6 votes, right, to get anything passed through. But know that my vote as mayor will allocate 500 academy slots for the next 10 years. Even though each slot is not filled, you need that growth because the calculus is that you got to grow the police force. If you don't grow the police force, it's out. The population is outpacing it right now, and without public safety, there is no city and so forth. You throw the city into chaos. And another thing is 7,000 San Pedro. I don't know how many officers are on shift there. I don't know if it's 3 or 4. So okay, let's just say it's 3. That's 9 officers on an 8-hour shift that can be on the streets or solving unsolved crimes and so forth, instead of guarding illegal activity that's actually happening in there. Again, Andrew Vicenzio, I'm running for mayor.
Three minutes, thank you.
3 minutes? All right, Clayton Perry again. Look, I spent 6 years on this city council. I was never appointed to anything, but I worked hard. I campaigned to get ready for that. I was my HOA president. I was on the board. I volunteered a lot of different committees and boards here for the city of San Antonio. That's what my comment was a while ago. I've been in the belly of the beast. I know where to look. I know where to find problems. And I have found them. While I was on city council for 6 years, everybody told me, Clayton, you're the only one up there that's got any common sense. That's what I was told day after day. And I tried to hold the line, and I did hold the line. In fact, the things that I did accomplish, everybody says, you're not going to get anything done. You're the only conservative up there on that council. Well, guess what? I brought 200 police officers to this city over that 6 years. I started the homestead exemption. Does everybody own a home in here? You got a homestead exemption plus up to 10% and then up to 20% while I was on council. So that's how I delivered. On top of that, infrastructure funding. Our streets, our sidewalks, our drainage, our parks. I doubled that infrastructure funding. Is it enough? No, and I kept trying to get more and more every year. But again, I delivered on those things that I ran on. I ran on taxes, crime and safety, and infrastructure. And I delivered on all 3 of those. And let me tell you, that has not changed. I'm going to continue to run on that. Plus, look for that leadership on this council and bring in those businesses to help support that. But I don't care what you do, you can't sell this city if you got a decaying infrastructure, if you got a high crime rate, if your schools are not very good. Those companies aren't going to be looking at us. So we have to work with the schools, and people say, well, the city doesn't have anything to do with the schools. No, that's not true. We can help those schools with their infrastructure around it. Have you been to some of these Southside schools and looking at the streets and sidewalks, no lighting? It's terrible. We can do something for them with our infrastructure dollars. So we can partner with the schools to help raise that built environment that makes those kids want to go to school and learn. And that's one of the issues that we can help with here in the city. Plus, the taxes. We can still work on our tax rates to lower those, to help people in their homes and save money for buying bread and eggs on their table. And finally, again, our crime rate. I got the city to do a study that showed that we're 350 officers short. We're about halfway there. I say fund it, get it done, and then let's start looking at our future police authorization, see how many more we need to get on board. So, Clayton Perry, running for mayor. Thank you very much.
I want to first off thank all of the gentlemen that are here that are representing the candidacy to run for mayor. You've heard a lot of brilliant ideas, and it's refreshing because a lot of the things that I've heard I agree with. I think that we share a lot. It may be differences in how we go about the approach. For me, it's quite simple. Our people need to have a job to go to on Monday. And that job needs to be able to provide them with sufficient pay for them to live and support their families. When you have a family that is able to be supported, now we have the luxury of being able to look at and engage our community differently. But if we've ever been in a situation where that paycheck is not sufficient in order for us to put the food on our table that our families require, now things are off balance. Here in San Antonio, we're off balance. We have prioritized a great deal that has caused for our government to grow leaps and bounds. But we forgot who it is that we represent. We forgot the people in the communities that make this city a city. So for me, it's personal. For me, it's about finding other individuals like myself who was willing to invest his dollars in this city with an expectation of growth and return. That needs to be our calling card. When we look at our downtown, is that the calling card that you want representing your city? When you look at the sheer number of homelessness that exists in our downtown community, what is being done about it? How are we facing it? And it doesn't mean that we have to be cruel, but there are rules that we have to abide by. And there are programs that currently exist in this city that are changing and being replicated all over the United States as to how we engage our homeless, how we engage providing care that is 360. Only then can we then begin to grow our downtown in a way that is reflective of the city that we know that we love. San Antonio, it's time for us to celebrate. When we think about our identity, who are we? What is our sound? What represents San Antonio? There's a unique opportunity for us to come together and to build the city that we want to be known for generations to come. And that starts with us. It's a simple decision. I'm Robert Melvin, and I'm running for mayor.
So we have a bonus round. So be thinking about a question. I will come to the audience in a minute. We have an intermission and an announcement, and then please think of a question for our mayoral candidates.
I mean, you guys came out here, I know that you had questions, but remember, friendly questions, pleasant Christmas. So, oh, okay. We're going to do friendly questions because it's Christmas. Remember that. Okay, but hang on just a second. One more announcement. January I think it's the 18th. Our next meeting is going to be about Section 8 housing.
And what date?
That's the third Wednesday, you can say 18. Yeah, you'll be getting notices. Fletch, did you want to? No, yes, no?
I can give a 60-second update on the omnibus or credit.
Okay, real quick, because this is John Fletcher. He is like a really, really big deal here. He works for Chip Roy.
Hey everyone, I wanted to give, just so everyone has context as y'all are following the news the next few days on government spending, shutdown. Government shuts down Friday at 11:59. Chip has opposed the CR from the beginning, but we actually got bill text within the last 24 hours that's worse than you could even imagine. The good news, it had $60 billion for Ukraine, it had a new healthcare bill for $25 billion stacked in, it had congressional pay raises snuck in, it had, getting members of Congress off Obamacare so they no longer have to live by the rules that they write. It had, a litany of terribles, even on top of just the usual egregious stuff and creating new federal crimes, etc. So we kind of dubbed it on, without even seeing the bill text, because we could see the trends and hearing some of the bits and pieces that were coming together, dubbed it the Cramdibus, kind of combining Krampus, cramming, Cramdibus. And it was 4 months, but the good news is I think some of the momentum that we created trying to highlight it was, picked up by Elon and Vivek and the Doge guys today. And it's dead in the water now. So today that was a lot of people our office phones were lighting up all day today, and we were like, don't worry about Chip, keep calling. But appreciate, because I know a lot of y'all in this room probably took time to call, and it makes a difference when those phones are lighting up. I'm not spiking the ball. I don't think anyone's spiking the ball yet. There's still going to be some negotiating. Chip's been on the phone with President Trump trying to talk about what direction they think this should go, and even kind of pre-gaming some of the stuff earlier in the year about how they want to set up for success, like dealing with border first before we get into some of the other issues down the line that K Street and others are going to try to pressure President Trump and Speaker and Senate into doing first. But we want to get some victories lined up really early, and the border is the first place that we want to start, and I think President Trump's on board with that as well. So again, not spiking the football, there's government funding. We'll see if we can get something minimized. I don't even think if it's minimized, Chip would vote for it. I can't speak for every member. But again, it was really, really egregious and bad, but the good news is that version of that bill is dead in the water, and they're kind of going back to the drawing board. What happens on Friday at 11:59, don't know yet. That's part of the reason I was late today. Still working some of those details out, but again, that's why staying engaged matters, and especially thank you to all. I was really impressed by everyone here tonight, and appreciate you all running, and locals where we got to start early, this next year and start going back on offense, put Democrats on their heels. So thank you all.
Thank you, Fletch. So if you're baking cookies this Christmas, dozen up to these guys, because their lives are not good right now. Also, don't forget, be writing the cards. We'll pick them up in just a little bit. Okay? So, we'll go. Okay, you guys ready for just one more round of questions? Okay.
Okay, so we have 5 questions, please, and I'm just gonna, you can go ahead and ask a question.
Ready, Gibbons? Pick one candidate. Rolando. In 2017, the city came up with the CAP plan, Climate Action Adaptation Plan. That plan has changed multiple departments and policy throughout the city, even today. It affects Section 8 housing, it affects transportation, it affects the departments we have. Tell me how much you love fossil fuels and what you will do about the CAP plan going forward.
Well, first of all, I'm opposed to anything that threatens our oil and gas industry. We are many, many years away from transitioning, maybe even 100 years plus. But when we have an economy that is based on energy, on our oil and gas industry, particularly here in town, we have many oil and gas businesses that employ people that pay quality salaries that we can't afford to lose. And when we impose those kind of policies on our community, on our economy, then it's a losing proposition. You know, as a public utility commissioner, I was the person out there fighting to make sure that a lot of these renewable energy projects didn't encroach upon our oil and gas industry. That's fine, we can develop, we can certainly work towards that. You know, when I was on there, you know, we brought in a lot of wind energy from West Texas. We built those lines out to West Texas, but we can't be relying on them 100%. And we shouldn't certainly not put our oil and gas industry in peril. And that's what's happening here. And a lot of people don't seem to care about that, but I will protect our oil and gas businesses and our jobs, because that's what we have here. That's what's driving our economy. Texas is the energy capital of the world, and we can't have anything threatening.
I think I saw a hand over here, all right?
Thank you.
You gonna pick your candidate?
Yes, Mr. Melvin, you're a real estate developer and Mr. Melvin, as a real estate developer, I know we all here oppose what's called the unrealized capital gain tax that Caroline, AOC, and a bunch of lefties proposed before. Why don't we consider the property tax as unrealized capital gain? I.e., if I bought my properties in 2010 or 2008, I'm paying taxes today on an unrealized gain that I gained on those properties. Would you pledge to fight that, or at least having a proposal to stop and cap property taxes at the level where we bought them?
That's a good question. I paid $98,000 for my house. I'd love to be taxed on that.
I think that's a great question, and it actually hits at the heart of a lot of the issues that we face when we look at downtown development. When you have communities that have been in place for 30, 40 years, and there is a new wave of development that comes up, and you see your property values shoot through the roof without having the same benefits of those new developments. So I think in putting a freeze, it allows for you to, one, maintain the integrity of your home, but it also allows for you to realize the asset that it is that you put that investment in. I think that when we look at the role of government, and especially here in San Antonio, you come to realize you don't own what you think you own on your land. As a developer, I've acquired real estate, and I've put plants together, and I removed trees, and lo and behold, I didn't own the tree that I removed. And so I get hit with an arbor bill to the tune of $136,000 because I removed something that sat right in the middle of my project. So when you consider the overreach of government and how much they play a role in the lives of your abilities to enjoy your home, I think that there is a lot for us to revisit. I think that there is a common sense approach to how we can grow this city without forgetting the people that have made this city what it is.
Right.
Is it yes?
I did say yes, sir.
Thank you, Robert, for that question. Okay, I'm going over there. I see you. I'll be back. I'll be back. Here you go.
You all have addressed issues downtown, but I haven't heard anyone question what you do about the cost of parking downtown to draw people into the inner city. I won't go downtown and I have to pay $25, $26, $30 to park to go downtown for an hour or two.
So what's your question?
What would you do about this exorbitant cost of parking?
Okay, I'm gonna volley that question to you, Clayton, since she didn't pick somebody. So, parking, or getting us to go downtown. We're locals, we're not tourists. I don't go down there partly because of crime, partly because of parking.
Well, there's a lot of issues to that. Again, Clayton Perry. When I was on council, I said, let's do something different because we need to attract locals downtown. It's beautiful down there. Has everybody seen the river lights down there? It is gorgeous. If you haven't, go down there and see it. But to your point, we initiated the Tuesday free parking, and I said, you know, that's a start. That's a start. What about free parking for seniors? To get seniors down there. What about another day on like a Friday or a Saturday to get people down there on weekends? Well, that was all shot down because you know why? This city loves your money. And you know, that parking fund, guess what? They had over $3 million sitting in the bank. And we didn't find that out until my second year on council. We said, what are y'all doing with all that money? Why are we charging all that money? Well, we got these plans, right? Well, those plans never happened. I don't know what's happened to that money since then, but we need to encourage people to come downtown, locals, like you said, locals, to enjoy that's where the majority of your taxes are going downtown. So we need to reduce those prices, encourage more free days of parking down there, and also for seniors to park down there for free. And we need to do a lot with that parking system because it is prohibiting people from coming downtown. And you know what their answer is? Catch Via. Take Via downtown. And I said, absolutely not. This is Texas. We like to drive our cars, right? So we need cheaper prices. We need more free days and breaks for seniors so that they can go down there and afford it. So.
It's the Pearl Monday through Thursday from 8 to 2. You can park for free now.
Well, they were charging, and I just got a ticket down there for parking without paying. So I got to go pay me a parking ticket. Yeah, I'm being yanked from the stage.
Okay, I saw some other hands. I'm going to go to this table back here. And so you've only got, you can't repeat which candidate, so which candidate you want to go to. No, it's a question.
Yeah.
No editorial. Okay.
Having the budget, giving money to VIA, would you, Mr. Clayton Perry?
No, he already answered. We're
I can tell you no.
We're going to go to Andrew.
I second that.
Vicenzio, would you somehow stop the money going to VIA because the people do not want that green or silver plan? It's being shoved down our throats and we don't like it.
Well, first of all, if you narrow the streets in San Pedro and they're having a heart attack at North Star Mall, that EMS unit is not going to get to you in time. So that already in itself is a problem already. And then the housing area around there, the residents are going to get affected. Small business is going to get affected. And so what happened with being pro small business? That's what happens, okay? When you narrow streets. I said that in the beginning. Don't narrow streets. We're growing. We're not shrinking. We're growing. So let me caveat on something else that I forgot. It really disturbed me. One of the propositions that passed was now a city council person and a mayor makes more than a first responder, an EMS technician, a firefighter, and a police officer. That to me really chaps my you know what. Answer your question, Ray? No.
No editorials.
Would you support, who's next? Who's up? Tim? Would you support a prohibition on city employees parking in city-owned parking lots downtown and making them ride VIA?
That's the shortest segment I've ever, or question I've ever heard.
Well, thank you. He said the mayor and the city council too. The short answer is absolutely yes. Yes. You know, in other words, I want them to ride VIA. That's what I want them to do, so they can get a taste of what they're trying to get other people to do. They need to be able to ride it. Another thing we need to do with that, those city employees and even the mayor, the city council as a whole, we need to make sure that they're doing the right things, because again, they want us to do certain things, but they're not doing it themselves. When it comes down to one thing that we're speaking about tomorrow, for example, $100,000 for abortion travel outside of the city. It's our money indeed, and we have to stand up against abuse of funds like that and say that we are hard-paying taxpayers and we will not stand for you to abuse our money like that anymore. And so those are things that I'll do. I'll make sure we speak for we the people. Today, tomorrow, and forever. Remember, San Antonio first and San Antonio forever.
So, how did we do?
Wait, one more question.
Oh, you had, yeah, he answered the first one. Yeah. No, we're good, but thank you for trying to correct me. So how did we do, guys? Did we do well? Okay, gentlemen, I want to say thank you. Camino Real, Republican Women, we are a night chapter because a lot of us work. We pride ourselves as not the fundraising chapter, but the working chapter. These ladies block walk. These ladies make phone calls. We have forums like this so that we can be of value to our candidates and of value to your constituents. I thank you for being here. We're very grateful. And we have one last announcement, if I'm not mistaken, but please, can we give them a round of applause?
For the city council candidates, I know you guys probably wanted to speak, but we're doing a special forum in February, at our February meeting, and it will be, the questions will be by the college students again. So we try to do that every year. So city council, Anita, and I think that there were a couple of others, Patty. Yeah, we're not trying to, ice you out or anything. We have a special meeting dedicated for you guys too, just like the mayoral candidates. And you guys were wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that we have a good slate this time. We do. Thank you. And really done.
One last thing, guys. Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
I want to thank the Camino Real Republican Women's Club for hosting this 2025 mayoral candidate forum. This video is brought to you by the San Antonio Femme Association, sanantoniofemmeassociation.com. All social media at San Antonio Femme Association, except for X, formerly known as Twitter, at SAFA Family, S-A-F-A Family. You'll be able to find this video at San Antonio Femme Association on YouTube channel, as well as Facebook, website, and the other major social media. Thank you very much. This is Patrick Dohlen bringing to you the 2025 mayoral candidate hosted by the Camino Real Republican Women's Club. Video brought to you by the San Antonio Femme Association. Happy Advent and early Merry Christmas to you. Adios.